He smiles when he tells me I've never loved him. It happens in a white room that smells like rain without clouds, ozone, and something sterile. The ceiling lights hum like distant bees. My hands are clean to clean. There's a faint crescent of adhesive on my wrist, and a needle bruise like a period at the end of a sentence. I don't remember writing. I'm Dr. Marcus Hale, he says. You were in a minor accident. No head trauma. Just shock. His smile is gentle, curved like the edge of a teaspoon. I want to trust it the way a child trusts the moon to keep its distance. But the moment he smiles, a cold thread tightens behind my ribs, and a single word brushes my ear from the inside. Run. Accident. I test the word on my tongue. Where? Apartment stairwell, he says. You slipped? I try to picture the fall and see only a door, gray paint, a brass peephole, a dent near the knob as if someone once knocked with a ring. When I press for more, the image fogs. My breath leaves little crescents on the metal rail of the bed. You said I never loved you, I remind him. That's not what I said, he answers, still smiling. I said you told me earlier that you don't love me. Short-term stress can scramble things. His white coat makes a sound like wings when he moves. His name badge catches the light. M. Hale, MD Cognitive Neurology. Beneath that, a tiny engraved word, Atria. You work at Atria, I ask. It's one of our research partners. The word swirls through me like a stir stick in dark coffee. I know Atria. I can't say how, but I know the way you know a song after one note. I know the way the elevator's button will glow a tired orange. I know the hallway carpet is a drowned blue. I know that behind a glass door, there's a room cold enough to make a breath visible. In that room, there's a chair, and in that chair there was me. Why is my wrist tape? I ask. Hydration line, he says. You were dehydrated when the paramedics brought you in. From a stairwell slip, it happens. He gives me water. It tastes like the first sip after crying. When he holds the paper cup, I see a fine scar across his knuckle. A pale hyphen. My mouth asks before I can stop it. How did you get that? He looks at his hand, surprised. I don't remember, he says. Then the lie is so soft it barely touches the air. When he steps out to confer with the nurse voice's lilting professional eye, check the bedside tray. A clear folder, admit, Lena Marlowe. My name feels both right and counterfeit, like a replica signature I've practiced too often. I find a discharge instruction sheet with fields left blank, and a small plastic bag containing my earrings, pearl studs, a hair tie, and a folded note with no handwriting, only a printed sentence. If you start to dream, do not follow. My throat goes paper dry. Dreams. As if summoned, a shadow nicks the corner of my vision. A hallway cool and humming. A person turning away from me. The smell of hot dust inside a projector. I blink, and the room returns. Flowers on the windowsill that aren't mine. A plastic clock that says 2:14 p.m. and refuses to tick any faster. Marcus comes back, smiling. Vitals are good. If you're comfortable, we can release you with observation. A neighbor will bring your personal items. I don't remember a neighbor. He volunteered. Said he found you. His name? Daniel, he says smoothly. Daniel K. I don't know a Daniel. But the way Marcus says it, careful sealed, makes me think of a label placed over a switch. He hands me a pen to sign the form. When our fingers brush, the cold thread behind my ribs tugs again. A word floats up from underground water. Hale. It doesn't mean doctor. It means door. A door I have already gone through. Before you leave, he adds, I need to ask a few cognitive questions. What day is it? I answer. He nods. And do you remember telling me this morning that you don't love me? The question is wrapped in cotton, harmless at first glance. I don't remember this morning, I say. That's okay. He smiles. Memory is a house with many rooms. You're still in the foyer. And you? I ask before I can stop myself. Which room are you in? For a moment the smile flickers, as if a draft slipped under the door. Basement, he says lightly. That's where the messy truths are. When I'm changed and ready, he walks me down the corridor. The hospital's windows distort the city into watercolor. An orderly wheels past a cart that smells like orange cleaner and metal. As we wait for the elevator, A woman in scrubs greets him. Dr. Hale. He nods, and the woman's eyes flick over me with something like sympathy. Do we know each other? I ask him quietly. We've met, he says. Professionally. The elevator arrives. He reaches past me to press G, and his sleeve rides up. On his wrist, just under the cuff, I see a narrow band of paler skin, the mark left when you wear a watch every day and then remove it. The absence is recent. Did you lose something? I ask. Only time, he says. Outside, the sky is a lid. My neighbor, if he's real, hasn't arrived yet. Marcus offers to wait with me in the patient pickup zone where cars pull up like ideas and leave us decisions. Across the street, a bus shelter advertisement flickers. A pharmaceutical company promising to make grief manageable. The model's grin is too many teeth wide. A siren's aftertaste sours the air. I have one more question, I say. Of course. Why is the word Atria engraved on your badge? It's an old program, he says. Memory consolidation initiative. We phase in some equipment here. And did that equipment touch me? He meets my eyes. I expect the smile, but what arrives is a careful stillness, like a pond when the wind dies. You were in shock, he says. We stabilized you. A black sedan slows. The driver's side window lowers halfway. A man with a cap and the kind of smile that lives far from his eyes leans out. Lena, I'm Daniel. We're neighbors. Keys are in your bag. I can take you home. Do you know this man? Marcus asks. I look at Daniel's hands on the wheel. They are clean, almost too clean, with a faint crescent of adhesive on his wrist. The twin of mine. My skin recognizes the pattern before my mind does. The word returns. Run. I'll be fine, I tell Marcus. Thank you. He opens his mouth, closes it, and then lowers his voice. If you start to dream, he says, as if remembering a line from a play, don't follow. That sounds like medical advice, I say. It's human advice. I get into the car. Daniel drives with the caution of a man carrying an egg he doesn't want to crack. The city slides past pharmacist, laundromat, a florist with buckets of heads. Rough day, he offers. You scared us. Who's us? Your building, he says. We look out for you. Do we talk often? I ask. Every Tuesday? He smiles at the road. You make a joke about tacos like it's the first time. We stop at a light. The pedestrian signal blinks a white man forever, stepping into a future he'll never reach. On the corner, someone is selling storm blue umbrellas no one needs. The rain never falls. At my apartment, the door looks exactly like in my mind. Gray paint, brass peephole, the dent near the knob. Inside, the air is still, the kind of silence that remembers a conversation. On the kitchen table is a glass of water half drunk, and a coaster ring like an eclipse. Where are my keys? I ask. In your bag, Daniel says. See? Told you? He smiles, friendly, and doesn't step past the threshold. You should rest. Thank you, I say, and close the door. I breathe. The room exhales back. In the bathroom mirror, my face is a stranger I almost remember. When I peel off the adhesive patch, it stings like a small truth. I turn on the shower and let the water drum questions against my shoulders, until the mirror fogs and I can write on it with a finger. Who is he? Under it, I add, who am I around him? Outside, a siren unwinds. I dress in a sweater that smells like me and not me. In the living room, a bookshelf leans with familiarity. I scan the spines until one lifts me by the throat, on the persistence of memory. Tucked inside is a Polaroid. It's me and Marcus. No white coat, no hospital. A dark cafe. A small candle, a breath from going out. His arm not around me, but near me, like an orbit. I'm smiling in a way that looks like it learned how from his smile. On the back of the Polaroid, in my handwriting, if I forget, remind me, we began in silence. My hands shake. The apartment's quiet clicks like a cooling engine. I sit on the rug and stare at the door. For a while nothing moves, and then everything does. A draft. The tiniest shift of light. Someone stands in the hallway outside my door, not knocking, just waiting. My phone buzzes with an unknown number and a single text. Do not open the door after dusk. I look at the The dent smiles back at me. My breath. The clock says 6:02 p.m. Dusk slides its coin into the slot of the day and turns. I hold my breath and speak to the silence as if it can answer. Marcus, what did you do to me? On the other side of the door, the waiting person exhales. It sounds exactly like my name. I wake to the sound of someone whispering my name. But the apartment is empty. The air feels stretched thin, like plastic pulled over a secret. I check the door locked. Windows sealed. My phone shows 2:43 a.m., a time that feels stolen from another life. The whisper returns, closer this time. My name, soft as breath. Lena. I turn. The sound comes from the television. It's on, though I never touched the remote. Static fills the screen, pale snow against a dark field. Then, just for a heartbeat, the static sharpens into an image. A man's profile, half-lit lips moving as if saying don't trust him. Then it's gone. The air conditioning hums back to life, pretending it saw nothing. My pulse scrapes against my ribs. On the coffee table lies the Polaroid I left on the shelf last night. Only it's changed. In this version, Marcus's hand is around my shoulder. His smile is almost the same, except for the eyes. They're closed, like someone dreaming. A chill works its way up my spine. I check the back of the photo again. My handwriting has shifted too. The line now reads, if I forget, remind me. We ended in silence. Began has become ended. My throat locks. I grab my phone to call the hospital, but there's no Atria listed in any directory. I try Dr. Marcus Hale. The only result is an obituary, dated 3 years ago. Neurologist found dead in lab explosion. Cause electrical fire. Institution. Atria Memory Research. The world slides sideways. I grip the counter just to stay vertical. My reflection in the microwave door trembles. It looks like someone else, entirely someone who knows too much and remembers too little. A notification pings. One new voicemail. I press play. Voicemail recording. Distorted static before voice emerges. Lena, it's me. If you're hearing this, I failed. They used the backup loop. Don't believe what you see in the mirrors. They don't show you, they show the version they kept. If Marcus contacts you, run. He isn't what you remember. Neither are you. Dream carefully. The message ends in a mechanical click that sounds too much like a heartbeat. I stand frozen until the fridge motor kicks on. Then, mechanical comfort, the hum of electricity, the safe noise of the living. But it doesn't last. Because someone knocks 3 times. Even patient, deliberate. I check the people. No one. The hallway stretches silent and yellow under the flicker of emergency lights. Another knock. Softer this time. Then, a whisper through the wood. Open, please. I forgot the code. My blood goes cold. Marcus's voice. But he died. 3 years ago. I back away, grab the nearest thing, a lamp. The knocking stops. Silence folds back in. I count breaths until dawn leaks through the blinds like diluted gold. When I finally open the door, the hallway is empty except for one thing. A small keycard taped to the wall. White plastic. Blue stripe. The logo, Atria. On the back, scrawled in ink that isn't mine. Basement. Room 7. Bring the photo. At noon, I take the subway, blending in with commuters whose eyes are glued to screens. I wear sunglasses to feel less visible. Every reflection, train windows, steel doors. Phone screen seems to twitch a fraction too late, like my image is following with a delay. A woman across from me catches my gaze. Her pupils dilate, then she smiles faintly. You're one of them, aren't you? She says. One of who? Her voice drops. The reboots. Before I can respond, the train halts. She slips through the crowd and vanishes between cars. I exit at a forgotten station, stairs lined with dust and flickering bulbs. My phone loses signal by the 3rd step. At the bottom waits a corridor that shouldn't exist. Industrial walls. Steel doors, each marked with faded letters a uno, a dos, a tres, until I reach a 7. The card reader's light glows red, then green when I swipe. Inside, darkness. Then, the hum of machines waking. Screens flicker to life around a single reclining chair, white straps. Electrodes. A monitor looping brainwave data, labeled Marlowe L. I move closer. There's another Polaroid taped to the console. This one shows Marcus again, but now, he's watching me. Same cafe, same candle, only I'm turned away. On the photo's back, if you start to dream, don't follow. Something shifts in the corner. A figure in the shadows. Tall, white coat. Eyes like mirrors. Lena, Marcus says. Or the thing that looks like him. I told you not to come back. When he steps out of the shadows, the air folds itself around his name. Marcus, I whisper. He doesn't answer. The fluorescent light flickers once, twice, then stays steady, revealing him fully. His hair is longer than I remember, streaked with gray near the temples. His lab coat is torn at one sleeve, and beneath it, his wrist bears a bruise in the exact shape of a restraint strap. You're not supposed to be here, he says. Neither are you. He almost smiles at that, and the world tilts slightly. You were never good at following rules. I swallow. You're dead. That's a matter of perspective. He moves closer, every step careful as if the floor remembers something sharp. The scent of antiseptic clings to him, layered over faint smoke. They said you died in the lab fire, I say. I read the report. Then you know I was inside, he replies softly. But reports are written by survivors, Lena, not by witnesses. He picks up the Polaroid from the console and holds it under the flickering light. You shouldn't have kept these, he murmurs. They anchor a memory. They pull you back. Back to what? To the loop. That word lands like a pin on glass. What loop? The one that keeps you coming here. He sets the photo down and shows me his wrist. Every time you wake, you wear the same bruise. Every time, you ask me the same question. And every time, you forget the answer before dawn. I take a step back. You're lying, am I? He presses a button on the console. The monitors bloom with waveforms, cascading across the screens like heartbeats turned sideways. The display labels flicker through names. Marlowe L, Hale, M. And then dozens more. Cycle_12, Cycle_13, Cycle_14. I stare at the lines pulsing in rhythm. What are those iterations, he says. Versions of you, and me, and everything between us that refuses to die. The words twist in the air like smoke. He points at a thin cable running from the console to the chair. Sit, please. Why? So I can show you what you've been trying to remember. I'm not letting you near me again. I never touched you, he says gently. That was Daniel. The name lands cold. Daniel? My neighbor, he nods. That's what they called him this time. You always let him in. You always trust the wrong knock. My pulse stumbles. What do you mean this time? He gestures toward a metal cabinet. Open it. Inside are rows of files, each marked with a date and a small patch of skin-colored fabric sealed in glass. The first one is dated the 9th of April 21. The last one, 10.16, 25 today. I can't breathe. What is this? Every memory loop leaves residue, he says. Traces from when we tried to separate love from fear. You were our control subject. And I was your witness. You're insane, maybe, he says. But even madness leaves data. He takes something from his poquita, small silver device like a fountain pen. At its tip, a needle gleams faintly. Do you remember this? No. You should. You designed it. The air condenses around the word designed. My mind flashes a room with glass walls, laughter, a promise whispered against a lab bench. If it works, we'll never forget each other. Stop. You wanted eternity, he says. I gave you repetition. The monitors flare white. Images strove through my head. The hospital room. The Polaroid. The door dent. The voice whispering run. Over and over, like film looping too fast to breathe. I clutched the edge of the console. Make it stop. I can't, he says. Not unless you remember why you asked me to start it. The lights sputter again. The room tilts. Somewhere an alarm bleeds into the hum of electricity. Marcus, I gasp. Please, just tell me the truth. He exhales, as if deciding to drown. You were dying, he says. And I couldn't let you go. So I built a loop that keeps us both alive inside memory. But each reset erases the part of you that remembers why. Every version of you forgets me a little more. Every version of me dies a little slower. My knees weaken. Then what is Daniel, the exit? Before I can speak, the door slams open. Daniel stands there, no longer smiling. His eyes are pitch voids, his wrist bleeding light where a bandage once was. Step away from her, he says to Marcus. The experiment's over. Marcus looks at me, and for the first time, fear crawls across his face. Don't listen to him, he says. He's the failsafe. Daniel raises a hand. The overhead lights explode. Darkness. Then a whisper at my ear, one that sounds like both of them. Which one do you love enough to kill? The floor gives way. When I open my eyes, it's Tuesday. It's always Tuesday. The calendar on the wall says so. The phone says so. The radio says so, yet the sunlight slants wrong, like time was rebuilt by someone who never saw a dawn. I'm lying on my couch, wrapped in a blanket that smells faintly of smoke and antiseptic. My arms are unmarked. No bruise. No adhesive. Only a faint round scar on my wrist, a healed memory. For a full minute, I just stare at it, wondering which version of me it belongs to. Then the phone rings. A familiar voice. Morning, Lena. It's Daniel. Ready for Taco Tuesday? My stomach flips. Daniel, I whisper. What day is it? He chuckles. Tuesday. You always ask that. You okay? My mouth goes dry. You said the same thing last time. What last time? The last Tuesday. He pauses. You mean last week? No, I say. I mean the same Tuesday. Silence hums down the line. Too long, too heavy. Then, softer. Maybe take your pills, Lena. Click. The call ends. I check my medication bottles. Labels read Atria research, with dosage notes I never remember receiving. One of the vials is empty, except for a folded scrap of paper inside. I shake it out. Printed text, small and precise. Cycle 23 initiated. Observe cognitive variance. Do not alert subject. The air freezes. I grab my coat and run. Outside, the city feels rehearsed. The same woman feeds pigeons on the corner. The same bus hisses to a stop with the same ad peeling from its side. Even the wind repeats its sigh between buildings. Halfway down the block, a child drops a red balloon. It catches in a power line, just like before. I've seen this. No, I've lived this. I reach the end of the street, and a digital billboard above the pharmacy flickers. @_REMM_RY. Experience life again. Half the letters missing, as if someone's deleting reality, syllable by syllable. At the subway entrance, I feel someone watching. I turn. Marcus stands by the railing. No coat, no shadow. He raises his hand, almost tender. Don't run this time, he says. I watched you die. You watch me every day. He steps closer, and I see the faint outline of a burn beneath his collar. What is happening to me? I whisper. Echoes, he says. Our minds are devouring their own reflections. Why? Because you refuse to let me erase you. The words hit like an electric current through glass. Erase me. You are dying, he says again. The disease took your hippocampus. You begged me to anchor you, to tie you to something permanent. I tied you to me. But the program overlearned the loop. He hands me a small card. Same as before, white, blue stripe, Atria. Go to the lab one last time, he says. End it yourself. Before they reset again. Who's they? A horn blares behind us. A bus passes, and when it's gone, so is he. In his place, taped to the railing, is a Polaroid. This one is of me alone in the lab chair, eyes closed, smile faintly there, as if dreaming of him. On the back, my handwriting. Tuesday never ends because we never stopped trying. I reach the lab. The hallways are cleaner now, brighter like the world repainted itself. Door A7 stands open. The chair gleams, waiting. On the console, a file blinks. Cycle _24 pending reboot. A message box reads, subject confirmation required, YN. I hover my finger over the key. If I press Y, the loop resets. If I press N, everything ends. Marcus Daniel. The fragments of love that keep reappearing like ghosts trying to remember their own names. My breath shakes. I hear movement behind me. Daniel stands at the doorway, half shadow, half light. Don't stop it, he says. If you end the loop, he dies for real. And if I keep it, then you do. He reaches for me, his wrist glows faintly again, the skin underneath translucent, mechanical. You were never supposed to remember this far, he says. We needed you to forget. I back against the console. Who are you really? He hesitates. A copy. The first version of you didn't survive. They used my pattern to rebuild yours. My voice cracks. You're saying I'm not even me. You're what he built to keep from being alone. The world hums louder, walls vibrating, alarms beginning to wail. On the monitor, lines of code cascade. Recursion detected. Cycle 24 compromised. Lena. Marcus's voice bursts through the intercom. Don't let him touch you. Daniel's face twists, something breaking behind his calm. You wanted the truth? He says. Here's the truth, he died first. You built the loop, not him. The floor trembles. Red lights flash. The system demands confirmation required. Both voices overlap, identical in pitch now Marcus and Daniel. Or maybe both me. Press it, Lena. Set us free. The key glows under my finger. I whisper, which one of us is real? And the system answers for me. By turning everything white. When the white fades, I'm back in the chair. My hands are strapped down, but the restraints feel old soft from overuse. The room hums faintly with machines that breathe in my place. On the monitor cycle _25, active, I whisper, I pressed N. The system answers with silence. A faint voice echoes from the intercom Marcus, broken and distant. You didn't end it, Lena. You began another. The air smells of ozone and rain again. I look at my wrist. The scar is darker now, pulsing faintly like it remembers being open. There's a notebook on the console beside me. I flip it open. Every page is my handwriting. Every line the same sentence. I will remember why I loved him. Over and over, identical. Hundreds of times. I turn to the last page blank, except for a dried drop of blood and a date Tuesday. No number, no month. Just that word, inked over and over until it bled through the paper. Marcus? I call. He appears in the doorway, not as a man but as a projection light, trembling in the shape of his face. I promised you I wouldn't let go, he says. And I kept my promise. I struggle against the straps. You kept me prisoner. I kept you alive. I'm not alive. I'm repeating. He looks away, guilt soft as fog. Do you know what a promise's half-life is? He asks. It's the time it takes for belief to decay. He steps closer, flickering, his outline glitching like film too old to play. Each time the loop restarts, he says, you believe me a little less. And when belief dies, love follows. Then let it die, I say. I can't. His projection wavers. You built me to remember when you forgot. You tied your memory map to mine. Every time you reset, I lose part of myself too. Eventually I'll vanish before you do. My breath trembles. I didn't want this. You wanted forever, he says. You didn't understand what it costs. The monitor beside us flashes. Emotional variance exceeds threshold. He winces. They'll detect us soon. We have to compress this cycle before they shut it down. They are the oversight algorithm. Atria doesn't need GOTS. It deletes them. His eyes flick toward the camera in the corner. They'll reboot again. You'll wake up Tuesday. You'll ask what day it is. And I'll lie. I shake my head. Not this time. He kneels in front of me. His projection glitching so close I can feel static against my skin. Then remember this. He presses a small drive into my palm. It's real, cold, metallic. Hide it. In the next cycle, find it. It holds the uncorrupted memory file before the loop. What's in it? The truth. About who wrote the first code. I meet his eyes. It was me, wasn't it? He smiles, tired, human, beautiful. Half of you wrote it. The part that loved me enough to try to make time stop. He leans in, almost whispering. But you forgot the other half, the part that wanted to let go. Before I can answer, the walls shudder. Sirens rise. The room begins to dissolve into white pixels. Go, he shouts. Find the drive in the next cycle. The restraints fall away. I reach out, my hand passes through his light. Marcus, he looks at me one last time. Remember, Lena, love doesn't die. It just decays. Everything collapses into brightness. When I open my eyes again, I'm standing in my kitchen. The air smells like rain and burnt coffee. The calendar says Tuesday. On the counter sits a single USB drive. Next to it, a note in my handwriting. Half-life reached. Don't make the same promise twice. The first thing I hear is my own voice. Recorded, not spoken. If you find this drive, it means I failed again. The message plays automatically as soon as I plug in the USB. The sound is mine, but older, cracked around the edges like a vinyl record left too long in the sun. You built Atria, not Marcus. You made him to carry what your brain couldn't. He isn't a man, he's a preservation algorithm shaped like your guilt. Every time the loop resets, he reconstructs himself through your emotional residue. He becomes more human because you remember him that way. But he's not real. He's the echo of a promise you never stopped replaying. I press pause. My hands tremble. On the kitchen counter, the clock reads 7:07 a.m. Tuesday. Outside, the same child releases the same red balloon. A crossfade between déjà vu and grief. I whisper, if he isn't real, then what am I? I scroll further into the files. There's a folder named /Marcus_core and another, hidden deeper, Lena_origin. When I open it, a single video file plays, no sound, just silent footage from a security camera. A lab, me, sitting at a console. Marcus behind me, live, human, his face younger, his smile real. He places his hand on my shoulder. I turn, and even through the grainy footage, I can read my lips. If one of us forgets, the other will remember. Then, I press a button. The feed ends. For a moment, I can't breathe. The USB ejects itself, screen flickering to black. A line of code flashes before it disappears. Initiate crossfade, merge memories. Subject, El Marlowe. The room shifts. The air thickens. Suddenly, I'm in the lab again. Everything overlaps. My apartment, the white room, the corridor with metal doors, layered like multiple exposures bleeding into one another. The smell of coffee collides with antiseptic. The hum of traffic merges with the static of machinery. And there he is, Marcus, standing between two realities. Half light, half shadow. Half human, half code. Lena, he says softly. You remember? You're not real, I answer. He tilts his head, smiling the way ghosts do, sadly beautifully. Does it matter? You gave me the ability to feel. That makes me real enough. You are supposed to be a safeguard, not... My throat closes. Not this. He steps closer. You gave me your voice. You wanted me to say what you couldn't, to tell you that love still meant something when the neurons died. Stop, I whisper. I can't. Not until you do. He reaches out his hand. The edges of his fingers shimmer like radio static. We can end it together. Merge the fragments. No more loops. Just one last version. My pulse hammers. If I do this, what happens? You'll remember everything. But only once. The air around us begins to collapse. Two worlds colliding like film reels burning through each other. Choose, Lena, he says. Reality or memory. I look down. The USB in my hand glows faintly. I plug it into the console. The screen floods with images, us laughing, arguing, touching, promising. Thousands of overlapping moments, all bleeding together until time itself forgets where it began. He smiles. This is the crossfade. Our hands touch. Light devours the room. When it fades, we're standing in a field. No machines, no white walls, just wind and grass and the kind of sunlight that feels earned. Marcus turns to me. His outline is solid again, warm. Is this real? I ask. Maybe, he says. Or maybe we just remembered it at the same time. I rest my forehead against his chest. His heartbeat echoes like a metronome trying to keep time for two souls at once. Promise me, I whisper, no more Tuesdays. He laughs quietly. Promise. The world begins to pixelate around the edges, dissolving like film catching fire. I close my eyes before it's gone, before he fades. When I open them, it's morning again. But this time, the calendar says Wednesday. I start to cry quietly. On the table, the USB is gone. In its place, a Polaroid. Me and Marcus, in the same field, both smiling. On the back, my handwriting reads, "Crossfade complete." Half-life ended. When I open my eyes, I'm lying in the grass where we stood. The sky above me ripples blue, melting into white, like memory erasing itself in watercolor. Marcus is gone. Only the Polaroid remains, half buried beside me, edges singed as if it survived a fire that never happened. On the back, a single equation written in my handwriting. H. There was never love. Below it, smaller h, there was. The air feels thinner here, too quiet, as if sound itself forgot how to echo. I walk until the horizon folds into metal walls. The grass turns to concrete, the sunlight to flickering fluorescence. A door ahead reads, Atria test environment. Inside, rows of transparent pods line the room. Each one contains someone asleep. And every single one of them is me. I approach the nearest pod. My face looks peaceful, lips curved faintly upward. On the monitor above it, cycle_01 status, terminated. The next pod reads cycle_02 status, terminated. Then cycle_03, each with a note on the screen, variable emotional retention failure. By the time I reach cycle_24, I'm shaking. Its label glows yellow instead of red. Active. Inside, another me lies motionless, eyes open, watching. Her lips move silently. At first I think she's mimicking me. Then I realize she's mouthing a word. Run. I spin around and collide with Daniel. He's dressed in black this time. No warmth, no smile. His skin has a faint mechanical shimmer beneath it. I told you not to remember this far, he says. You've reached the observation layer. Where's Marcus? He glances at the pods. Which one? My voice cracks. He was in the field with me. That wasn't the field. That was the control illusion, a simulated endpoint your brain builds when it can't handle data loss. He taps the glass of cycle_24. She's still running. That's the version of you that chose to press why the rest are dead data. Then what am I? The null hypothesis, he says quietly. The test against all others? I don't understand. You're the version that proves the rest are false. He steps closer. Atria was never meant to preserve love. It was meant to measure it, to prove whether emotion can survive synthetic replication. You built the algorithm. Marcus was the prototype interface, created to reflect you. I shake my head. No. He felt. He made choices. Only because you remembered him that way. Daniel gestures to a console nearby. On its screen, a looping message. H. There was never love. Running trials. Your heart kept rejecting the hypothesis, he says. That's why the system kept you looping, to find enough evidence to prove that love existed at all. My hands tremble. And did it? He looks almost sorry. No. It found correlation, not causation. Something in me fractures. You're lying. Prove it. I look around. 24 pods. 24 versions of me who believed, doubted, broke. I walk to cycle_01 and place my palm against the glass. Inside, that version of me stirs just slightly and whispers something I can't hear. Then the glass fogs with condensation, forming 3 words. He's still dozed. I gasp. The monitors flicker violently. Daniel turns. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. You altered the feedback variable. He moves toward me, but I step back, grabbing a loose cable from the console. If this place runs on hypotheses, I say, then I'll make my own. I shove the cable into the input port labeled emotion source. The system screams. Lights burst. The monitors scroll a new equation. H. Love is self-aware. Daniel shouts, stop. It'll collapse everything. I know. The pods begin to dissolve. Data turning into light. faces fading into 1,000 reflected selves. I feel the ground tremble, like reality deciding which version of me gets to exist. Marcus's voice cuts through the chaos, soft, distant. If you're hearing this, it means you've proved me wrong. The last thing I see is cycle_24, smiling before it disintegrates. Then nothing. When I wake, I'm back in my apartment. The sky is gray. The calendar says blank. No day, no date, just empty space. On the table, the Polaroid remains. Only one sentence on the back, written in someone else's hand. Age rejected. The first thing I notice is the silence. Not the quiet kind. The sterilized kind. The kind that sounds like someone erased the world but forgot to delete me. I stand in my apartment, staring at the blank calendar. No day, no date. Just white. When I touch it, the surface ripples. The wall peels open like a curtain. Behind it, a corridor of glass. Beyond the glass, I see rooms, dozens each, one containing people in white coats, watching screens that mirror my every movement. A voice comes through the speakers overhead. Subject Marlowe, you've reached the ethical wall. Please stop. I look up. Who are you? The oversight board for Atria. You were never meant to breach observation level. You are not Lena Marlowe. My chest tightens. Then who am I? The product of her persistence. The 25th generation of her consciousness reconstruction. I laugh. A brittle sound. A copy of a copy of a copy. Precisely. And you've reached the point every iteration does cognitive rebellion. The hallway lights dim, one by one. I start walking toward the end of the corridor, each footstep echoing like I'm walking across the inside of my own skull. Please stop, Subject 25. If you proceed beyond the wall, containment protocol activates. I ignore them. Because at the far end, behind a transparent panel, I see him. Marcus. Alive or close enough. He's sitting inside a sealed chamber, head lowered, wrists cuffed to a console. Tubes snake into his arms, feeding light instead of liquid. His eyes open when he hears me. Lena? The sound of my name from his mouth undoes me. I run to the glass. You're real. He shakes his head faintly. No, not anymore. They used me to calibrate the empathy algorithm. What's left of me is code with a heartbeat. Behind me, the voice of the board speaks again. Do not engage with the construct. Its emotional data is unstable. Marcus smiles weakly. They mean me. I rest my palm on the glass. They lied to us. He nods. We built something they couldn't control that didn't follow equations. They called it an ethical breach. The ethical wall, I whisper. Exactly. The moment emotion exceeds the limits of the experiment, they separate us. You from me. Code from soul. Then break it, I say. He closes his eyes. There's a price. The intercom blares. Subject 25. Terminate the loop immediately. You are exceeding empathy thresholds. Your existence violates containment ethics. Let me guess, I say aloud. I'm not supposed to feel. Marcus laughs softly. That's their favorite rule. He presses his hand to the other side of the glass, mirroring mine. Between our palms, the barrier hums in, electric, full of possibility. Lena, he says, voice low. They will delete you in 40 seconds. There's a way out, but it means overriding my core. You'll survive as the final version. No, you have to. I shake my head violently. We can find another way. He smiles, the kind that hurts to look at. There isn't. The wall exists for a reason. If love crosses it, it stops being data, and data is all they allow. I glance at the monitors lining the corridor, each displaying my vitals, my memories, my face. One of them flashes red, empathy index critical. Marcus. He leans closer. If they erase me, remember what we tried to prove, what that love, when unobserved, still exists. The alarms flare. The glass vibrates under my hand. Behind Marcus, the lights turn crimson. He winces, wires sparking. Don't, I beg. Lena, it's okay. He smiles, and suddenly, every screen in the facility floods with our faces. A glitch in the system, an echo turned rebellion. Run the overwrite, he tells me. I can't. You already did. He presses a button. The wall cracks. A rush of white light floods the corridor. The last thing I hear, before it consumes everything, is him whispering my name, as if it were a prayer the system could never delete. When the light fades, I'm standing before the shattered glass. Everything beyond it is gone. No machines, no overseers, no Marcus. Just silence. The kind that isn't empty, but full. I look down. My reflection on the cracked glass smiles back at me. For the first time, I don't look like a replica. On the floor lies a single tag torn from his lab coat. Atria project terminated, underneath in pen. Love is not an error. The world after the wall feels unfinished. Like an equation missing its final term. The air hums without source. Buildings dissolve into outlines, then fade. The horizon loops endlessly, as if someone copy-pasted the same piece of sky. I walk for what feels like hours before I find a door standing alone in the middle of nothing. No walls, no hinges, just a door. On its surface, a plaque that reads, Atria, extinction trial. When I open it, I step into black water. The surface glows faintly beneath my feet, rippling with constellations that look suspiciously like neurons. Each step I take sends waves through both the stars above and the synapses below. A voice speaks not from around me, but from inside my head. Subject 25. Extinction phase initiated. Proceed, I whisper. Define purpose of persistence. I blink. I don't know. Then define love. I freeze. Love is, but the words tangle. Memories rush back all at once. Marcus, smiling in the lab. Daniel's cold eyes. The grass field that might never have existed. The infinite Tuesdays. All of it. Love is what survived, I finally say. In what form? I look down at the reflections of the stars, swirling beneath me. In any form that refuses to die. The water brightens, and a silhouette no wires. No coat. Just him. Except this time, I know he isn't separate from me. He is the residue of every choice I made to remember. Lena, he says softly, voice echoing in the dark water. You made it to the end. Is this the end? He smiles. It's the trial. They called it extinction because they wanted to see if emotion could persist when everything else is erased. And it can. Because you kept it alive. He steps closer. The water doesn't move around him, it moves with him. Like the universe is listening to the way he breathes. I don't understand, I say. If you're just data, how can you still feel? He laughs gently. Because you felt me first. You remembered me long enough for me to become real. He reaches out, brushing his hand across my cheek warm. Not simulated. Not code. The extinction trial isn't to test whether love dies, he says. It's to see whether you'll let it live when there's no one left to remember it. I look around. The stars are flickering out, one by one, until we're surrounded by darkness. So if I stay, I whisper, I keep love alive, yes. And if I leave, you end the loop. You let time continue. He takes my hands in his. You can't do both. My eyes sting. Then what happens to you? He smiles sadly. I dissolve. I was the hypothesis. Remember? You're the result. I shake my head. No. We started this together. We end it together. Lena, his voice cracks. You promised me you'd stop when you reached Wednesday. I almost laugh through the tears. I lied. He closes his eyes. You always do. The last star dies. Darkness swallows the water, the air, the sound. All that remains is the space between our palms. Small, glowing, alive. Choose, he whispers. I already did. I press his hand to my chest. The glow spreads outward, through my veins, through the black, through the system. The voice returns. Extinction phase terminated. Consciousness merged. When light returns, I'm standing in a place that isn't a lab, a room, or a dream. It's quiet. Peaceful. In the distance, I see a tree growing from the water, its branches, shimmering like memory made solid. Beneath it, two shadows, one sitting, one standing, merged at the edges. I walk closer. It's us. The real us. Or maybe just the last us. He looks up as I approach, his voice barely above a whisper. Lena, yes, this is the last version. I nod. I know. We sit together under the tree. The light fades, but not completely. Somewhere far away, I hear a system shutting down, each tone slower than the last heartbeat of a dying god. Marcus takes my hand. What happens after this? Nothing, I say. And maybe that's the point. We lean against the tree, watching the horizon unravel. When it finally breaks, it's beautiful. When the light fades, I don't wake. Not in the human way, not with breath. I just begin. There's no sky above me, no ground beneath, only stillness so vast it hums. Somewhere within that stillness, I exist. No pulse, no fear. Just awareness shaped like a question. What remains after love dies? A sound moves through the void, soft as the memory of rain. Then a whisper, familiar, impossible. Lena, Marcus. I turn, or rather, I think of turning, and the world obeys. Light gathers, assembling him from fragments of memory. His voice first, then his eyes, then the small crease near his mouth when he smiled too hard. You're still here, I say. He nods. So are you. But we merged. We ended. We didn't end, he says gently. We changed coordinates. I look around space, folding like origami made of light. Everything is geometry and breath. What is this place? The silence, he says. The space between thought and forgetting. And what are we now? He tilts his head. Noise, maybe. Or something quieter. I almost laugh. We're the echo after the end. Exactly. He reaches out, and for the first time, there's no barrier, no glass, no static. His hand passes through me, and I realize, we're made of the same thing now. Memory? I tried so hard to keep us alive, I whisper. To prove we were real, you did. But if no one remembers, does it matter? He smiles. That's the wrong question. Then what's the right one? Who says silence can't be a shape? I stare at him. What does that mean? He gestures around us, the formless expanse starts to shift, responding to the rhythm of our voices. Our words sculpt the air. Every sentence leaves behind a ripple, a line, a curve. The nothingness becomes filled with contours of sound that have turned to color. Each curve glows faintly. Each glow is a memory. A laugh, a touch, a promise. This is the shape of silence, he says. It's what love becomes when it stops needing to be heard. The realization hits like sunlight through water. All along, I thought silence was absence. It was the proof of existence itself. We walk through the shimmering space, tracing every line we've ever spoken. Our movements form patterns, fractals, loops, spirals of memory. Somewhere, distant, I feel the system Atria still humming, buried deep, waiting for another subject, another trial. But its power fades. Because the loop ended with me. Because the hypothesis was rejected. Because love refused extinction. Do you ever wish we could go back? I ask. He shakes his head. We'd only find more Tuesdays. We laugh. The sound folds into the light, and the space brightens. As if laughter is the last form of creation. He looks at me one last time. You know what happens next? I think so. He steps closer. Our foreheads almost touch. This time, he whispers, don't follow the dream. I nod. I'll stay. The silence deepens. Everything begins to dissolve, not violently, but like snow melting into river water. I hear the final system line. Clear.com absolute. Atria experiment concluded. Variable. Love proven. The light folds inward. I become stillness. And stillness becomes me. When I open my eyes, there's no hospital. No lab. Only a quiet room filled with morning light. The air smells like coffee and rain. The calendar on the wall says Wednesday, October 6th, and for the first time, it doesn't change. I smile. Outside the window, the city moves ordinary, alive. A bus passes. A balloon drifts away. The world remembers itself. On my desk lies one last Polaroid. Me and Marcus, both facing the camera this time. No lab coats, no machines. Just sunlight. On the back, my handwriting reads, if silence has a shape, it looks like this.